Wingle wangle. Let's I'm not even. Where the fuck? God damn it.
Doing fantastic. Doing great.
Yeah.
All right, everyone. We're just going to be browsing Ivan's TikTok.
All right.
Oh, terrific. George W. is going to need every vote he can get, or they won't call it a landslide.
George W?
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 Is rather courageous.
No.
I guess we your vote now. I think that means nothing. Long live the People's Revolution!
So do you think in the new season of King of the Hill they're going to they're gonna call back to this at all? Because
no.
Socialism and hold up, but socialism and communism has gotten a little bit more
incorrect
popular.
Immediately. They're not even gonna reference it. Luann and Lucky ain't even gonna be in the show.
Why not?
Brittany Murphy's dead.
Okay, I didn't know that.
She died,
Damn.
She died a long time ago.
Oh.
And the voice actor for Lucky, Luann's husband, also passed.
Damn.
Yeah, so they're just not in the show.
They could do a whole bit that she died fighting in the Philippines.
Well, that was only a one episode thing, and by the end of the episode it was resolved and she was no longer a communist.
I think that's a deeper commentary that Mike Judge has put into the show, that young people, they get these revolutionary ideals and then are distracted by things like love and family and money, when you shouldn't have any of those things if you're going to be a communist. What you should be is a podcaster who is really bad at putting on their own podcasts, so much so that
you should be subscribed to other podcasters and be in a big circle of podcasting, and you just have endless debates and discussions about what happened 100 years ago instead of what's happening right now.
Yeah. I think that's totally fine and
the most viable solution.
I think you should also be in large TikTok rooms, chat rooms, and getting upset at each other, intentionally misunderstanding each other, and overall just being absolutely prepared to die fighting your comrades as opposed to, imperialism.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think that's what Mike Judge meant with all that Luann
Okay,
business.
I can see that. How does that tie into Beavis and Butthead, though?
Cornholio is in Call of Duty? This is not a joke. I'm being serious.
What has Call of Duty become?
I'm going to show you right now. I can't believe you don't know this.
I knew Nicki Minaj was in Call of Duty.
Cornholio, Call of Duty. Here we go. This is our podcast.
This is the revolutionary podcast.
I haven't seen this video, so I don't know what's about to happen. But thanks to the power of pre-recording,
you can edit it out.
Take him down. Mess him up.
I got an idea, Beavis.
capitalism, it's gotta go, bro.
Hold on, dumbass.
Capitalism breeds innovation. The innovation.
This is where it all pays off. Okay.
I did see a thing because of stuff like this and Fortnite and all the different skins and stuff. People were very excited for the new Battlefield trailer because they're like, oh my God, there's not just a million skins.
Yeah, it's like the Fortnite-ication of Call of Duty. It looks terrible. This is one of the worst things I've ever seen in my life. But it's funny because when I was playing Warzone with Wumbo yesterday, you could see Cornholio running across the fucking map from 3 miles away because he just looks so different than the rest of the environment or whatever. This is the system that we have to destroy.
This is capitalism, through the commodity form. This is, I feel chapter 25 of Capital.
Well,
which
I
think
mean,
it's the one about not digital stuff, but like what he talking about fake commodities or something. I can't remember which chapter it is.
I know exactly what you mean. I don't think Karl Marx quite predicted NFTs, but I think
I think
given
he
a little
did.
bit more time. All right, I was gonna say given a little bit more time, I think he would have. But like the ironic part is like working people miss time with their family, their loved ones, literally like sweat, blood, literal tears, like designing and refining Cornholio's model in
Mhm.
order for it to work in Call of Duty when no one's going to remember this in a year.
Or they're gonna like look at it and actively just shit on it.
Yeah, as they should. So much like this intro to the podcast, what is even happening, Cruz?
I don't
Because
know.
I feel like what is even happening with Kollectiv? First off, what is even happening in like the collapse of capitalism, and what is happening in the communist movement? Because I feel like this has been the longest year of my life. It's been so like absurd. We high key forgot to do like our set 2-year anniversary because like
Yeah.
everything has just been so like I'm ready
You know
to
what it
die.
is? You know what it is? Okay. So I feel like a lot of people have had this thought, and I've had the thought, and I've had the discussion where it's like during like lockdown, which was 5 years ago.
Damn.
Now, wild, right?
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people feel like they kind of missed a couple of years,
Mm-hmm.
especially younger people. Like formative years were missed, and it's almost like 2 years just didn't really happen.
Right.
And no one feels like they progressed. And I think it's catching up.
Mm-hmm.
Like the time debt has to catch up. It's like, oh, you don't feel like you had those 2 years? Well, guess what? Here's 2 years and 5 months.
Here's a bunch of decades all at once.
Right, all at once. Here's some decades.
You fucking animal. It's it's terrible, bro. I texted Wumbo earlier and I was like, I'm depressed. And he's like, you want to talk about it? I went, no.
No.
like I was just at the mall, commodity production, and I was just like, I literally, that's it. I didn't have anything to say. I was just like, I'm just over it. Like I'm tired, Grandpa.
I'm at a point where I'm finally like a little more stable financially. And I was walking around, I'm looking at stuff, and I'm like, I'm spending a bit of money catching up on things that I've needed, that I've kind of foregone the last 3 years. But beyond that, I'm just looking at shelves and like, I don't want any of this. This is, I don't need any of this.
Right.
Why am I working?
Exactly. Yeah. 100%. I understand where you're coming from. It's just kind of like I don't even have like clothes anymore. Like I have work clothes and then like literal like basic. Like I am doing like the pretentious communist. Like all he wears is black sweatpants and black shirts, and it's like, yeah, I literally just don't care.
This is all I wear. I come home from work. I put on a t-shirt. I put on some loungy pants. That's just
do a little spin for us.
Oh, yep. There you go.
Yep.
Oh,
wow. There's a cat behind you. I didn't even notice.
Hey.
Yeah. But anyway, so like all jokes aside, like there's this fatigue and growing malaise. This cat is climbing on my shoulder right now. You can kind of see him on the side here. He's completely laying down on my arm, but he's 20 pounds. But there's this malaise and this depression that is setting in people because they can see, that it's coming down. And I know we've said that before, but like it's only escalating more and more. So much so, like you were saying, time debt. The killing of Brian Thompson was in December of last year. I thought that was still this year. I understand it's only like a month difference, but like low key, I was like, damn.
Thought it was 2025.
Right. It's 2024.
I literally had that moment with my manager at work today. She was like, because I broke the news to her that the Blackstone thing had happened, and she was like, "Oh man, just like." I was like, "Yeah, it's this year's this year's sacrifice," and she was like, "Wait, what? I thought the other guy was this year." I was like, "No, that was last year."
Nope, that was
And
last
she
year.
was like, "What?"
Let's check out this article. You're gonna love the title.
Can't wait. Hype.
Mm-hmm.
Hype train coming.
Wesley Lepatner, partner, a 44-year-old Blackstone executive who oversaw its $53 billion real estate investment fund, was killed in Manhattan's mass shooting. Monday's mass shooting in Midtown Manhattan claimed the life of Wesley Lepatner, a 44-year-old executive at Blackstone. The company confirmed Tuesday morning Lepatner was among 4 victims killed at 345 Park Avenue when a lone gunman stormed the office building, which also serves as headquarters of the National Football League and features other business clients such as the KPMG. The shooter had been identified by police as 27-year-old Shane Tamara of Las Vegas. I love that my generation is really starting to like get out there in the world, you know.
Yeah.
Lepatner served as Blackstone's global head of core and real estate, chief executive officer of Blackstone Real Estate Income Trust, BREIT, a property fund with $53 billion net asset value and $275 billion market capitalization. Okay, so let's like slow the roll for a second. So like what Blackstone is the largest landlord retailer holding company like in the country. They own most property. They own
I think I saw 61,000 single family homes.
Christ. So they own most houses for sale, and their subsidiary companies own most like companies that just hold like rental properties. And then hire smaller landlords, managers, etc. So friend of the show, why the fuck am I forgetting his name? Let my brain load for a second.
We got so many friends that I don't know.
I know, we
who
do.
you'd be referencing to.
Comrade Workwear. Jesus Christ.
Okay.
our friend Comrade Workwear on Means TV. He made a video earlier, was basically saying like just like how Brian Thompson was he was responsible for people's death as the United Healthcare CEO. This executive, this woman, is also responsible for the death of people because without surprise, surprise, guys, without a stable home, without a place, without shelter, viable shelter, it spells out death. Maybe not immediately, but it leads to poverty, leads to mental health decline. It leads to drug use. It leads to getting involved in crime. It leads into getting in problems with the police because the police hate homeless people. Even more so now with this new executive order that just came out 5 days ago, which I swear to God, even that feels a lot longer. But let's look at this a little bit more.
And it's like with what you were just saying, it creates a feedback loop because every time they buy property, they outbid everyone. That's how they keep buying property. So like, let's say a house is like $150,000 or something like that. They'll come in and say, here's 300,000, which means the average price is going to go up because those real estate companies that are selling to BlackRock, Blackstone would go, oh, well, we can get more money from them, which then prices everyone out of the market. And then no one can afford anything.
Right. Exactly. I wanna point out this part right here. Lepatner's family provided a statement to Fortune. We cannot properly express the grief we feel upon the sudden and tragic loss of Wesley. She was one of the most loving wife, mother, daughter, sister, and relative who enriched our lives in every way imaginable. Now, I want you to understand that just because she was all those things to somebody does not negate the fact of what they are responsible for. And this applies to all capitalists. This applies to white supremacists. This applies to Nazis. You can be the best brother, the best dad, the best whatever. But when your ideology is responsible for the most human suffering, I'm just saying.
It's hard to care that
Yeah.
something happened, whatever. We've been saying eat the rich. Like, what do you think that means?
Mm-hmm. Did you see that you remember the show Gumball?
Uh-huh.
Did you see that they came out with a new episode in they
No.
haven't in 7 years? They literally are talking about eating the rich. I will find the clip. Let's find the clip, and I will show it
Bring
to
up
you.
the clip.
My dumbass was like, "Oh, this must be the clip." But okay, here.
Like,
Now I'm just locked in on this edit.
yeah. Welcome to the Kollectiv Podcast. Just
So anyway, she was a distinguished professor and an all-around an amazing
blah
person.
blah 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 blah
Yeah.
blah.
And she got holes put in her and she bled to death. So
I gotta say, most evil people that we hear about or read about in history, they had families. You know, everyone's go-to most evil person in history, Mr. Mustache, was notably very good with animals.
yeah, buddy had a dog, right up until the
Yeah.
end. I don't give a fuck. Fuck
Yeah.
you and your dog.
Does that absolve of what the crimes are? Absolutely not.
So like kind of regrouping here. So when we say that like people like Wesley or people like Ryan Thompson, but particularly Wesley, when we're saying that they're responsible, their actions to their company, as their company makes more profit, as they make decisions, like Means TV was saying, as they make decisions that garner more of a profit, that's at the expense of human life. And even more so now with this new executive order that the Trump gang just dropped a couple days ago. New DLC just dropped, the ending crime and disorder on American streets. I'm only going to read the beginning because I don't really need to go much farther than that. But endemic vagrancy, disorderly behavior, sudden confrontations, and violent attacks have made our cities unsafe. The number of individuals living in the streets in the United States on a single night during the last year of the previous administration, 274,224 was the highest ever recorded. The overwhelming majority of these individuals are addicted to drugs, have a mental health condition, or both. Nearly 2/3 of homeless individuals reports having regularly used hard drugs like methamphetamines, cocaine, or opioids in their lifetime. An equally large share of homeless individuals reported suffering from mental health conditions. The federal government and the states have spent tens of billions of dollars on failed programs that address homelessness, but not its root cause, leaving our citizens vulnerable and public safety threats. Now,
what's the root cause?
Right. There's a lot to unpack here. What's the root cause? The root cause is capitalism. The root cause is that you don't put people in homes, that you put a paywall behind shelter, that because people don't have anywhere to go, when there's how many vacant houses in the United States and homes?
I think at one point I had read it was like 17 million vacant homes, like apartments. Now you can give or take on that because some of those are just uninhabitable, sure, but even if you get rid of all the uninhabitable properties, there's plenty. We have a surplus. But when a company like Blackstone, not only are they raising the prices of their homes, they're creating an artificial scarcity because they'll buy up those homes, and a lot of them will just sit vacant but in their hands because no one can afford to rent them. So, and then another company goes and builds more homes, and it just perpetuates the cycle. They just keep buying and selling homes, whether or not someone lives in them.
Reading this, it reminds me of the Black Shirts and Reds from Michael Parenti, where Michael Parenti is basically making the case that when people talk about Hitler and the Nazis and the fascists, that they say that they were irrational, that they were crazy. And while Michael Parenti obviously doesn't agree with fascism and Nazism, he says that no, fascism actually was quite rational. It was planned out. They had specific motivations in which they carried out their ideology. But when I read this, I don't see the rationalism in the beginning here, because what rational person would see a figure like 274,000 homeless people and not be like, damn, how do we fix, like, we need to put these people in the homes. This is placing the blame squarely on them, mostly on mental health and drug abuse. But we both know that mental health declining and the use of drugs both increase when it comes to not having shelter. I mean, like, do you know what it's like to not have an indoor safe place to go to have to bear the elements, to have to bear people, to be bored, to just exist at the not even at the mercy of other people? No wonder people do drugs. Like, duh. I mean, how many of us do drugs just recreationally?
I remember a long time ago, there had been a person that for a brief period of time had been homeless, and they had gotten addicted to a drug. I can't remember what drug it was. And they said part of what happened for them was not even so much like, for obviously for a lot of people, it's an extremely stressful situation and you might turn to it for comfort. But for him in particular, he's like, he still had a job. He still worked 8 hours a day, and then he had like an additional part-time job. So took up like 12 hours of his day. But then he's like, I still got 12 hours of my day. I got to do something. I can't go anywhere. Like, no one will let me in anywhere because I'm that homeless guy.
Yep.
And he's like, what do you end up doing? You do whatever you can.
Exactly. This is the part where the bill really goes off the chain. Shifting homeless individuals into long-term institutional setting for humane treatment through the appropriate use of civil commitment will restore public order. Surrendering our cities and citizens to disorder and fear is neither compassionate to the homeless nor other citizens. My administration will take a new approach focused on protecting public safety. Buddy is talking about mass institutionalizing homeless people.
Yeah.
What he's talking about is concentration camps. What he's talking about is, now we can connect this to now we can connect this to the sort of broader situation that's happening with ICE. A couple weeks ago, ICE's budget increased with the big beautiful bill to, I think it's 43 or 45.
I think it's
100 and no, it's no, it's definitely. Hold up.
We're all wrong.
Yeah.
we're lowballing it. I know that it was said that they are now better funded than most militaries on the planet.
Yeah. I had to double check because I wanted to say 40 or 50 billion. It's 150 billion over the next 4 years. So ICE effectively, is the new Gestapo. It's the new SS. And they now effectively have more money than the U.S. Marines, than many European countries. Then I think it's in like the next 13 countries, like combined, essentially. So what's happening, right? As they're removing a sector of the population that is considered undesirable from the borders, what's happening is the capitalists and the ruling class are starting to understand that their systems are unsustainable, right? This whole thing is unsustainable. It's a house of cards. The attacks that supposedly Luigi committed and the attacks that this person committed on this executive, they're just the beginning. The attacks on the ICE Center the other day are just the beginning. They say for a reason the revolution will not be televised. It's begun. So they know that while it's going to be more and more difficult, one, to find able-bodied people to work for them to make a profit, they're still going to need some kind of labor force. What better labor force than a bunch of slaves or a bunch of people you just found on the street and make them slaves?
Yep.
That's effectively what it's going to be. They're going to go to these centers and places and they're going to be given jobs. Those jobs are going to be the last vestiges of the capitalists trying to hold on to as much as they can.
And another thing that's going to exacerbate that, somewhat unrelated, but very related at the same time, AI. AI is rapidly being introduced into a lot of businesses. So the whole point of that is to replace, it's the capitalists trying to solve the problem of wages, which is their largest expense typically, is having to pay people. And, you know, Duolingo, I don't remember if it was this year or late last year, had announced that they were going to be largely AI. I had gone to Taco Bell the other day and the drive-thru was AI. That takes a job. That takes a job away. A low-paying job, sure, but a job that now someone does not have, cannot generate income, which will put them at threat of homelessness. And with this in effect, puts them at risk of being picked up, institutionalized, and then sold off for slave labor. And it's just all going to feed each other. That's the economic conditions going forward.
Right. No, exactly. It's boy howdy. I mean, it's funny because we come on here to yap about it, but it's really like how much more yapping can we do about it? Clearly, a lot of people have been going another way to no longer just yap about it, to actually try to do something about it, whether we particularly agree with the tactics or not. We don't. Wink.
Minecraft.
And I know I asked you I asked you during another conversation, but to kind of, you know, refresh, the attack that occurred on that ICE facility, with those 12 people, 13 people, did they ever find the 13th person? Do you remember?
I don't remember. Let's see if I can pull it up. Multiple incidents have now come up, so I don't even know.
Oh, interesting. Why don't you why don't you feed them to me?
Let's see. Fireworks, flashlights, and snipers. Attacks on immigration facilities put law enforcement on edge. This is from CNN.
Snipers?
No, I will not subscribe to you, CNN. I guess I can't read that article.
Damn. I want to hear about the snipers.
Yeah, so the one on July 4th, it says there's a dozen. They arrested 10 out of 11. Nothing more than that. And then repeating the number that there has been a 700% increase in assaults against ICE agents. So I don't know if they ever caught one of the additional people, but those have been, those attacks are ramping up. The fact that I just searched it and immediately multiple things came up is something to see. And I know for a fact that despite the budget increases and things like that, a lot of ICE agents have been quitting, like pretty much immediately after joining, because it's usually younger people or these, dipshits that go and think they're going to get this adventure and they're going to be a badass, and then they get attacked once and they're like, nope, I didn't realize they were going to fight back. Never mind. I thought I was going to get to be a bully.
I actually saw some clips from TikTok where there's two different clips. One was somebody saying how they knew somebody who applied for a job on like Indeed or whatever, and I think it was like a custodial job or something, or maybe security. And
I know which one you're talking about.
Some other, it's like some company or whatever, and the company would basically was like, meet up at this coordinates basically, and they went, and it was like a secret entrance to Alligator Alcatraz. And yeah, shocking. Get ready for this one. The working conditions were not great. And they were like, well, I'm not going to do this or whatever. And they were like, well, if you quit, you're going to basically get charged for trespassing. And they did. They got like a letter or something later that was
Yeah,
like,
I think
"You
it
can't
was
come back
something
here."
like contractually you have to work for 48 hours
Mhm.
is how you avoid that.
That's crazy.
Yeah, but they're tricking. They have to trick people, which
Mhm.
does not bode well for them. If they got to trick people into being, Gestapo.
I saw one that was like, where like these people like intentionally, like they knew that they were going to go there, and then they had made a video where they were complaining that like the supervisor like wasn't nice to them, and they had to like be on their feet for 12 hours. And I just think that's really funny. Like the idea of like you go to work at Auschwitz and you're like, commandant is really, he's
Like,
really
man,
mean. Like,
so mean. Okay, you know what it reminds me of? I don't know if you
Mm.
remember this or if people watching remember this.
Mm.
So when ISIS was first
Mhm.
like growing and popping off and all over the news and stuff, there were people that had gone to join. A lot of European people had gone to join, and some Americans had gone to join, but they were all younger, and they were complaining that there was no Wi-Fi. And they were like,
That's really funny.
the heads of ISIS were like, we're struggling to get people because they come here, and they're like, what do you mean there's no comfort?
Guys, I know that we're like waiting here in the mountains to ambush these Americans, but like, anyone got any like a hotspot or something? Like, I'm kind of bored.
You guys want to DoorDash some Domino's?
That's what I'm saying. There's no. What do you mean? There's no Tinder out here in the middle of Afghanistan mountains? That's really funny.
One of the reasons that people have been joining ICE, or one of the reasons that people join the military, outside of like pay, or just being racist and wanting to cause harm, is that idea of adventure that kind of gets sold to,
Yeah.
especially to a lot of younger people, and it's not until they're in that they're like, oh fuck. Of course, modern day, because of stuff like TikTok, is we can all see exactly that it's not a call to adventure. Like, it's not some
Right.
thing you're going to be doing. So only the worst of the worst are trying to join, which is why they have to trick people.
Yeah, exactly. I hope they all meet their end. Just to put it out as, speaking of things ending, Israel is also collapsing. That's
Yeah,
funny.
it is.
Yeah. So basically Israel is like gotten to the point where like it has to do its Avengers Endgame to Gaza now. Gaza is in like, I think they call it like stage 5 of starvation.
Stage 5
or
starvation
basically,
is the final stage.
yeah. So basically what it means is that even if all of the genocide just stopped now and people could be fed, there is a number of people who will just die anyway from complications, or will have essentially everybody who's left will have some kind of permanent damage. This cat is going crazy on the couch right now. Will have permanent damage
As a result,
to their organs. Yep. So that is one of the worst things I've ever heard.
They had that same problem, World War II, liken it back to the other well-known genocide. When the camps were liberated, they ran into the thing where like they had the food, but they could only give people so little at a time, because everything had shrunk and deteriorated to a point where it's like if they gave them too much, they would die.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And that's where we're at with Gaza.
Yeah, it's terrible. I did see that the UAE and oh my goodness, was it Egypt? Somebody basically they were airdropping supplies, and it's like, on one hand, it just shows that you could have been doing that, and two, why don't you drop some bombs?
Right. Let's just start this up. I know there have been aid trucks coming through Egypt, through the Rafah crossing, as as much as they are allowed to take in there.
Mm-hmm.
Yemen has been just sinking everybody. If
Mm-hmm.
it's going to Israel, they're sinking it now.
Mm-hmm.
And then we had like the Freedom Flotilla and the more recent version of that go through trying to get people are trying to get food there.
Yeah, no, for sure. I saw this TikTok, and like just more and more regular people are speaking up now. Some lady with like no views or followers was talking about an article about Israeli settlers blocking aid trucks, and she was like, just run them over, just do it.
Like that's where we're at. Like everyone knows, like, okay, no, there's no defense at this point. Like you're like, what stage of self-defense is starvation?
It's none, bro. It's absolutely
like
none.
if someone breaks into my house and I just like trap them in a closet for 4 months and starve them to death, is that still self-defense? I feel like a judge would not rule in my favor.
Probably not. I think at that point you have turned the tables, except for, it's even worse, right? Because the guy who
because I went into their house first.
right. You went into his house, you shot his dog, you killed his family members, then you went back to your big house, and then he got into your house for like 2 seconds, and now you put him in the closet. It's disgusting. They're but we didn't even talk about the Freedom Flotilla, bro, and how
I brought it up.
I know, but like the IDF beat the
Oh,
beat up Chris
no,
Smalls.
forgot that.
Yeah, Jesus. Typical Israel being super racist. Because from what I understand, Chris Smalls was the only black person on the boat.
That's my understanding as well. And beaten, tortured. I think he's since been released.
Yeah, they just released him a couple hours ago. I think I have the thing here. Freedom Flotilla Coalition (FFC) has reported that prominent U.S. labor activist Chris Smalls was physically assaulted while in Israeli custody after being detained during a humanitarian mission. Smalls, the former president of the Amazon Labor Union, was among 21 international activists, journalists aboard the ship Handala when it was intercepted by Israeli forces in international waters. According to a statement released by the FFC, Small was violently attacked by 7 uniformed individuals while in detention. They choked him and kicked him in the legs, leaving visible signs of violence on his neck and back. The coalition said in a social media post the incident reportedly occurred before the lawyer was granted access to meet him. This was done by the Israeli Special Police Unit.
And I'm seeing here Smalls was the only black person on the boat of the 21 members detained.
No, I'm not surprised. When you have an ethno state, white supremacist ethno state, I mean, come on.
Yeah.
I was debating with Cutie, right? I said at some point Israel's going to blow up one of these ships. And Cutie was like, no, because they're not going to want to get in trouble if they kill like a bunch of UK citizens or whatever. And I'm like, I don't think they care, bro.
I think it would be like at that point it is genuinely endgame for them. Like they know they're going down and they're just gonna liken it back to World War II as the Allies were approaching the camps. They ramped up.
Yep.
They ramped up because they knew it was the end.
They have to commit to the situation basically because only a couple of weeks ago they were on a verge, if not arguably were already in a war with Iran, where they were trading blows left and right. And W Iran for doing that, L Iran for not continuing. Because like I don't know about you, bro, but like at this point, I'm fucking loco in the cabeza. Like I'm just like do it, like let's just do war because like. The situation is so fragile at this point. Capitalism, imperialism is so ready to collapse that like high key, like I'm like being an accelerationist where I'm like, just do it. Like, go to war because war, a full blown war that involves the United States will break the empire's back.
It's going to happen. Like, we're at that stage. Like it is in fact going to happen. It's a
Yeah,
matter
exactly.
of when, not if.
No, for real. And so there's actually a letter here from. Hold up. Boop, 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 boop. So this is from Lenin's Letters from Afar, is printed in Pravda March 21st and 22nd, 1917. Obviously translated into English. First stage of the first revolution, Letters from Afar. So this is Lenin's writing. The first revolution born out of the global imperialist war has broken out. What is he referring to? He's talking about World War One. In Pravda, in Lenin's writing, and generally amongst Bolsheviks at the time, their prediction was that the Tsarist government was already so unstable at this point because the Tsarist government, much like the U.S. government today, had been going through so many, basically taking so many L's, fam, that they knew that it would only be a matter of time until the empire would be weak enough. They themselves could not just all of a sudden, take over the government and everything is hunky-dory. They needed sort of a catalyst moment. So here Lenin is referring to the First World War, which it proved to be the case, would be the first step in revolution, or in this case, the first revolution to occur to allow eventually the seizing of power. And then eventually, the reactionary civil war against the communists, which is, I think, very much a situation that we're going to see here in the States. I think no matter the atrocities that ICE commits, no matter the concentration camps they build, prices going up, whatever, we are only going to still see sporadic reaction and movements against the empire until every single human person in the United States is affected. And yes, we can make the case it will affect you now, but I mean in the quite literal sense that everybody at home is thinking about the same thing, and the only thing that will produce that is war, a war that the United States cannot win, and that is either going to be a war with Iran or a war with China. You could say probably a war with Russia, but I'm including the most likely ones, and it's probably going to be Iran.
I think a war with Iran. Let's get a little hypothetical here. All
right, yeah.
Let's have not fun. That's the wrong word, but let's because there are three proxy wars that the U.S. is trying to wage against. So Ukraine against Russia, Israel against Iran, and then eventually they're going to, they're gearing up for Taiwan against China, which that one especially is like, Taiwan's not even seen as a separate country, so you're truly just going to war with China immediately. If you
I mean, most of the world agrees that
they're like, nope, that's not our country.
that China is. Yeah,
that doesn't mean the empire's not trying it anyway. That's part of their long-term strategy,
right?
And I think war with Iran, one, is extremely unpopular here, but I wonder if it would trigger full revolution simply because Iran can effectively attack U.S. military bases in the area, and it can effectively attack Israel, but there is no semblance of threat to the homeland, right? So what would happen is you'd probably, one, it's an unwinnable war, but two, you'd probably get more of those calls to bring the troops home, like kind of what we saw with Afghanistan, like just bring them back. But I don't know that it would be enough to cause like the full revolutionary scale unless there was like a severe economic consequences. And then the other thought I have is, do you, in a hypothetical sense, think the empire would sever the Israeli appendage if it seemed like it was getting to that point?
In order to survive, yes. 100%. Fascists, they have no allies at the end of the day.
There's no real allies.
Have no allies at the end of the day. All they have is themselves, their profit motive, and their twisted ideology. If it comes to being able to survive, they will 100% abandon Israel.
So I think that's the more likely thing to happen, where a war with Iran might spark, but I don't know that it would do enough to change things in the homeland, I think the U.S. would just abandon that to preserve the main part of the country.
Mm-hmm.
Then
Yeah,
the China part, that's what would lead, I think, to like the actual, because that's they can threaten the homeland.
yeah. So I
This
see
is
what
where
you're
my
saying. I see what you're saying, but I do feel like there could definitely be more different kinds of consequences, right? Because
Mhm.
even if we were to abandon Israel, right, we're like, you're on your own, buddy, but Iran still chooses to target U.S. military bases and assets, the U.S. is going to be forced to respond, and that
100%.
Forced response, that sending in ships and Marines into the Strait of Hormuz or whatever, it's going to result in massive U.S. casualties. I think, regardless of whatever administration is in power when this happens, will be enough for Americans to call for the overthrow of the government, especially, I mean, mostly liberals, because liberals don't want to see.
Okay,
And
so
when I say liberal, hold on. And when I say liberals, I mean, both Republicans and Democrats.
okay, so that's kind of what I'm talking about a little bit, is like
Mhm.
they'll call for an overthrow of the government, but not a revolutionary overthrow of the government. That's what I'm talking about. Like, it won't, like, it will cause severe, but it'll be more in the, we have to remove the Nazis from power to maintain liberal control type thing.
Right.
I don't see the Iranian conflict causing a socialist revolution in the same way that the Great War caused a socialist revolution in Russia, and World War II caused, one, the expansion of the Soviet Union, but two, completion of the socialist revolution in China and Korea.
I see what you're saying.
And it's specifically because only the appendages of the empire are threatened by Iran and not the heartland.
Right.
I could see, with a breakup of the government, or I could see calls for new parties forming. Like, I think most people are in agreement that the Democrats are fucked as a political entity. Like, they're losing support. So I could see new political parties moving. I could see more cause for secessionist movements starting to arise as a result of war with Iran, but I don't think it's quite the spark necessary to full-blown socialist revolution from an external conflict.
But if the U.S. can't maintain control in the Middle East and subsequently Northern Africa, where it can no longer really effectively protect its corporate assets, right? That economic damage, I feel like, in the United States, in the heartland, yes, could easily lead to people calling for remove the Nazis so we can get the libs back in power, but still do capitalism type shit.
Yeah.
Right. But if the government reacts poorly, which they probably would, to the calls for their own dismissal, and starts to be even more aggressive to its own citizenry. Well, so what I'm thinking here, right, is like, because if you're saying that, like, okay, so like China would be the spark, right? But would there be enough sympathy in a mass sense with the American people if they're actively fighting a socialist enemy to in turn be socialist?
Right. That's like one of the questions. So let me put it another way, because I thought about it while you were saying something. War with Iran may not spark a socialist revolution directly, but the US would officially lose superpower status.
Yes.
And the standing in the world would be forever gone. And the US would not get that back.
No.
Especially with stuff like BRICS. There's just the US goes to war with Iran, it loses its ability to do anything, which would have harsh economic consequences here. I fear that, if the libs get like like moderate to progressive libs get back in power, say like FDR status, we could see kind of a secession in left-wing movements like we saw before, which is why left-wing movements need to grow now.
Yeah.
So that we can prevent that from happening and we can actually move into full-blown socialism. But it wouldn't be unless the US starts directly trying to attack China and gets into a full-scale conflict with China, that I think the material conditions of harm would be to that point where enough people are like, okay, we need to get rid of the US government entirely.
Yeah. I see what you're saying. I don't know. I guess we'll see which scenario plays out, right?
I hope, I mean, I want to be clear. This is just how I'm analyzing it. But for anyone listening, this is not what I necessarily hope happens. I hope like the people are like, okay, fine, socialist revolution, let's go. Like, that's what I hope for.
Right. No, I agree. Let's look at the rest of this letter. So we only read like the first sentence. The first stage of this first revolution, namely the Russian Revolution of the 1st of March 1917, judging by the scanty information at the disposal of the writer of these lines in Switzerland, has ended. The first stage, for certain, will not be the last stage of our revolution. How could such a miracle happen that in 8 days, the period indicated by Mr. Milkov in his boastful telegram to all Russian representatives abroad, a monarchy that has held on for centuries, and that in spite of everything had managed to hold out during the three years of the tremendous nationwide, I don't know what that means, class battles 1905 and 07 could utterly collapse. Miracles in nature or history do not exist, but every abrupt turn in history, and this applies to every revolution, presents such a wealth of content, unfolds such unexpectedly idiosyncratic combinations of forms of struggle and the alignment of fighting force that in the Philistine mind there is much that must appear miraculous. A combination of a whole series of conditions of world historic importance was required for the Tsarist monarchy to have collapsed in a few days. Let us point out the main one. Without the 3 years of tumultuous class battles and the revolutionary energy displayed by the Russian proletariat in the 1905 to 07, the second revolution could not possibly have been so rapid in the sense that its initial stage was completed in a few days. The first revolution deeply plowed the soil, uprooted age-old prejudices, awakened millions of workers and tens of millions of peasants to political life and a political struggle, and revealed to each other and to the whole world, all classes and all the principal parties of Russian society in their true character and in the actual alignment of their interests, their forces, their modes of action, and their immediate and ultimate aims. The first revolution and the succeeding period of counter-revolution, 17 to 14, laid bare the very essence of the Tsarist monarchy, brought it to the utmost limit, exposed all the rottenness and vileness, all the cynicism and corruption of the Tsarist clique. With that monster Rasputin as its head, it exposed all the bestiality of the Romanov family, those pogrom mongers who drenched Russia in blood of Jews, workers, and revolutionaries. Those first among equals of the landlords controlling millions of millions of destinines? DSSIATINES.
Desatines?
The landlords controlling millions of
Go to the next word.
I'm gonna have to, because I was in my head. I was like, "Oh, this would be a good part to." I could do something fun with this, with the editing of this part. How do I pronounce this word? Deshayatin. I'm just gonna say it like that. The landlords could shut up. The landlords controlling millions of descendants of land and ready for any brutality, for any crime, for the ruination and crushing of any number of citizens, all for the sake of preserving this sacred right of property for themselves and their class. Basically, Buddy is saying that, like, yeah, in the immediate terms, it seemed like the revolution just happened out of nowhere and the Tsarist government like collapsed.
But it had been building.
Like, here we are, but it had been building. That's just dialectics, baby. Like, that's what we've been talking about this whole fucking time for 2 years. That history builds upon itself. Nothing is miraculous. Nothing just happens for no goddamn reason. So I would argue that probably would be the same way, that the U.S. government will probably just sort of collapse seemingly very fast. But it's just been a process that's been going on for over 100 years.
Yeah, this is, you could argue that like the framework for all of what's happening now was laid during that First World War. Mm-hmm. We're in the final part of the trilogy.
Yep.
And no matter what, whether you're correct and the people awaken, I think with all the ice stuff, that is definitely something that could awaken large portions of the population, or with the recent bill and the homelessness, that would likely awaken large parts of the population, or and could lead to a socialist revolution, or, as Lenin put there, the initial phase that lays the groundwork for a future uprising. Or if I'm right, and the U.S. just kind of loses superpower status, but maintains a existence in one way, shape, or form, at least for some time. Both outcomes, regardless, the empire's ending.
Yeah,
It's Joe.
It's over. That's exactly what is happening. So that kind of leads us to like, so what do we do now?
What is to be done?
What is to be done? Right? Read that if you haven't. But also, keep yapping. Talk to your neighbors. No, I'm not telling you. I'm telling them.
I'm sorry.
Keep yapping. Organize with your neighbors. See what your community needs. Don't be a wuss. Be a communist already. Be a Chad communist. There's no room for liberals here. And I guess get ready, because if you think this year's been crazy,
it's only gonna keep getting crazier.
Who knows what's gonna happen next week?
I feel like wild is probably the better term, right? What's the better term? It's gonna get real. It's gonna get real quick.
It's gonna get crazy real. Oh God. Well, I guess we'll see where we're at in 2 weeks. This is like the last episode, like before like the revolution, and then it's like another time skip forward, like 5 years.
I think Cutie had, I think it was a Bukharin related thing. He'd have to tell you, but it was something like he had been writing, working on stuff, and then there's like a large gap of time between it, and that's when like the revolution happened. They started building the Soviet state, and he like comes back, it's like years later, he's like, yeah, so some stuff happened.
Basically.
And like I would love that if that happened here. Like this is just kind of like us talking. It's like, oh yeah, speculating what could happen, what might not happen, what could cause what, and then we come back 2 years later with a podcast episode. It's like, yeah, so as you can see, the background's completely different. The US is gone.
It would be really fucking funny. I'm not gonna lie. It would be really funny. Oh, goodness gracious. I suppose we'll see what happens. I hope whoever watches this likes this. Trying something a little different.
And if you don't like it, I'm sorry.
I'm not. Do it better than us.
Make a better podcast. Or a revolution, just do one of the two. Podcast.
You're gonna have to do one of those. We can't do both. Start doing some work.